Leadership is not only being a leader, but being accountable for resources, among other things. CK, well known as Charles Karondo, not only became the president of Mount Kenya University, but also was entrusted by the Kenya University Student Association, KUSO, to be the treasurer. This shows leadership, accountability, and being able to lead as a leader. We're here today on the TTL show, the Tomorrow Leader Show, to find out about his journey and his experience as a leader, among other things. Charles Karondo, welcome to our show.
Asante sana.
I'm privileged to host you today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Without going into much details, just tell us who is CK Charles Karondo.
Thank you very much, Steve. It's a pleasure to be part of the Tomorrow Leader Show, and I'm glad for having me today. And Charles Kamau Karondo is my full name, also known as Karosh or CK. And to answer the question, who is CK or who is Karondo, I think it would just be prudent to start with what you just captured. He's a person who is worthy to be trusted with finances, you know. Anyway, I'm just a young, ambitious man, a student in the School of Personal Development, because I believe in my goals, my visions and ambitions, and in changing the narrative that I found when I was born, and inspiring a nation through good leadership, through building of character. And my major slogan in life has always been that in a gentle way, we can shake the world. So in a few words, I'll just say that is Charles Karondo for you.
In a gentle way,
we can shake the world.
shake
The world, yes.
Gently.
Gently.
Thank you so much. So, give us or tell us your journey as a student leader of Mount Kenya University the year 2016, 2017?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. It's whenever anybody mentions about my journey as a student leader, I think I feel nostalgic about the whole event, because it's a journey that I first of all never thought that would ever be. Because growing up, I never thought I would really be a leader. Because we have an education system as a country that sometimes fails to really grow or develop what is within us. We focus on education, we focus on covering the syllabus, and sometimes our education system does not focus on building the leader within us. And sometimes maybe you are critiqued because of things that we do. And I'm saying that because going through primary school and high school, the best I thought I could be was maybe a cheerleader or leading the noisemakers lists. Be a ring leader. But I never thought that I could be a leader in any positive way. Until later when I realized that actually the things that I was doing, it is leadership that was actually working from within. So when I came to Mount Kenya University, when I joined Mount Kenya University, I served as a leader in the Christian Union in various departments up to the level of the vice chairperson. And while at it, I got into financial challenges because of my financial background. And I was not able to proceed on with my coursework as a student in Mount Kenya University. That is from 2013, 2014. So I went on academic leave. But Steve, knowing where most of us come from to join university, we usually do not have an option of going back home. And so I decided I would not go back home, but I would just hang around, find something to do, and maybe in the hope that I could manage to raise some money to finance my education, while my parents also struggled to see whether they could be able to chip in a better way. So within that period, something interesting happened, because I had formed so many friends through the Christian Union and also in class. And I was also the class rep. I was actually elected as a class rep. But I thought they didn't elect me as a class rep because they thought I was a leader, but because they called me pastor. So, you know, maybe they thought they felt I'm a little bit more accountable. And I was always in suit, you know. So during that period, when exam time came, I happened to have a lot of free time. And I had friends who were also not able to raise fees on time. but at least I would manage to get money the last few days to the exam. So exam cards were introduced, meaning nobody would sit for the exams without the exam card. So for the people who are only able to pay school fees the last minute, they had trouble revising and at the same time queuing for the exam cards. Number two, we had another category of students who had fee that was maybe below 5,000, 3,000. And for me, I felt that there was no reason at all for a student who has very little in terms of balances to miss an exam. You know, you've paid maybe 50 out of 60,000 and then you miss exam because of 10,000. So I took it upon myself within that period because I had time. So I would tell these people, if you have cleared your fees and you don't have an exam card, go and study, go and revise because you have an exam. I'll go and queue for you and get the exam cards for you. And I was not charging anything. I was doing it for free because anyway, there's nothing better I would do that moment apart from helping these people. So I ended up helping a lot of people. I then started knocking on the doors at the finance office, requesting for permission for the people now who had balances that were below 5,000 and 10,000 to sit for the exams. And it's within that period that my student leadership journey started for me. Because immediately after that, I was able to solve problems for a number of students. And the next semester, I had more students who were requesting, who were asking for a way for me to help them out to sit for the exam, maybe with a balance or with the exam cards. So with time, the people I helped became a movement. And they became a movement because now I realized, what if I vied for the academic affairs docket, which was actually a prompt from some of these people? Wouldn't I be in a position to help them better than what I'm doing from outside? So that is how I vied for academic affairs docket in the year 2015, 2016. But unfortunately, I only started that journey almost a month to the elections period. So I lost with 99 votes. I lost. After losing, I didn't quit because whatever I was not doing for the political purposes. I didn't actually have a vision to be a politician in the first place. So I went on doing what I was doing, and I was actually able to help more people because despite the fact that I didn't really succeed, at least I now had a name. When I went to the finance offices, they knew who Karondo was. So I was able to gain more access and I was able to help more people. And the next year that followed, actually now my friends told me, you know what, you're actually not very for academics. Why don't you give it a shot and go for the presidential docket? And I was a little bit paranoid at first because I didn't think I had the capacity. I would look at other people who had vied as presidents before, you know, they had some huge bodies. I felt like they came from better families and something of that sort. I didn't have the finances. I was actually not a student per se, because yes, I was registered in Mount Kenya University, but I didn't have school fees. So I was still on academic leave. But fortunately enough, because of the relationship that we had created with people, I found a very formidable team, a team of people who believed in what I was able to do. People who believed in me more than I actually believed in myself. And I remember I didn't even know how to work with to form a campaign team. I had a friend of mine we called Kubende. He literally did everything in terms of, he would just call me and tell me, now you have a team, go and show them where you want them to campaign. So I would say I was literally being spoon-fed in terms of what I was supposed to do. So that is how I started my campaigns. And I want to assure you that whenever you purpose and you focus your energies on doing something positive or something good, nature always conspires to help you or to thrust you into achieving the objectives that you follow thereafter. Because of whatever I had started doing before, when I started my campaign journey, despite the fact that I was on academic leave, I actually did a Harambee within that year. And when I was doing a Harambee back at home, I didn't want people to know. Because I couldn't imagine students realizing that their president-to-be is actually conducting a fundraiser at home
Yes.
in order to be in class.
Yes.
But from whatever I gained from that fundraising, I was able now to get back to school.
Yes.
I registered because for you to vie at least you have to be in session. I registered. So by the time I was vying, I was in session. And then I used the balance to vie for that position. But fortunately enough, I was able to get a lot of support within the course. I was able to get a lot of people who supported me without really any financial strings attached, without charging me for the support that they offered me. And boom, that's how I became president of Mount Kenya University.
How did you take having vied for the first time and failed as an academic minister? How did you take it?
Well, I would say that I hate failure. And I think I'm not the only one who hates failure. But I have an extreme fear and hatred for failure. Because failure stings.
Yes.
And it stings where it hurts most. Yes. Because, like after having campaigned, I used some resources here and there. And actually part of what I used was my savings. And then you wake up the next day. You did not really achieve what you wanted. Your savings are gone. You meet with people. They are telling you sorry, giving you apologies, encouraging you. You count the votes you got. Look at the people who had promised to vote for you. Look at the people who are consoling you. And you realize that a good number of those consoling you probably never voted for you.
Yes, yes, yes.
And I think failure, especially when you fail in a political contest, if not handled well, is something that can lead people into depression. Because sometimes you look at people and you literally imagine that everybody you trusted never voted for you. Yes. Especially when it is a secret ballot process. And again, you have to restart over. You have to restart over your life. You spent everything you had. You had plans on how to lead your life after that. But now those plans have been shattered. So it was a down moment for me, and it took time. It took time. I wouldn't say that I just failed and then the next day I was up on my feet and I was okay. No, it took time. It took some months before I came into terms, because I was actually wondering, why did I even get into that? Why did I get the thoughts of even vying in the first place? Yes. I was wondering, the people who were telling me to go for this docket, where were they? Where were they?
So many questions were ringing in your mind by that time.
Yes.
But now how did you rise from the failure? Because it looks like failure is what made you the president. Exactly.
What made me rise easily from that failure was the fact that my main inspiration from the word go was not to become a politician. Whatever I was doing was not determined by that position. Despite the fact that during the campaign period, the position had somehow gotten into my head. And I had now started thinking about what I could achieve and what I could do in that position. But later on, I had to sit down and refresh and remind myself that there is a cause that I engaged, a cause that I started. And this cause, I had achieved a lot while I still didn't have any position. So when I reminded myself that I could still continue doing good, even if maybe I might not be able to do as much as I would do with that position of influence for the people that I was helping, that is something that I could still continue doing despite having not achieved the target that I had. That is what enabled me to rise again. And I started doing what I was doing before. I started helping students and I maximized on what I had. Because as I told you, despite the fact that I failed, I was not elected as a minister or the academics minister. At the end of the day, more people got to know me. At the end of the day, people actually realized that I had a potential. And I actually surprised myself, by the way. Because by the time I was vying, I couldn't see how 100 people could gather themselves and vote for Karondo. Because I didn't even believe I was a leader myself. So when it came to a point and I had more than 700 votes, and actually the person who defeated me, a person who had campaigned for almost a year, won with just 99 votes. I was actually surprised. And I was like, so you mean I have more than 700 people in this institution
Who know me?
who can believe in me? I actually
became your
surprised
starting
by
point.
yes.
Wow.
And I said, if I have 700 and I campaign for just a month, people who believe I can be a leader. I started seeing myself as a leader. As a matter of fact, those who know me will tell me even my dressing changed from that point henceforth. I now started dressing like a leader because now I knew that despite the fact that I didn't go through, I have 700 people who look up at me
Yes.
for leadership, who believed that this person is able to guide us, this person is able to lead us into a destination, into a place where we have been. Because a leader is a person who should understand and know and appreciate the fact that people look up to you to guide them to a place they have never been themselves. People look up to you to solve problems that they cannot solve themselves. So whenever you see even one person believing or putting their trust on you as a leader, you should appreciate the trust and the confidence that that one person has placed on you. Wow. That person believes you can do things that no other person can do, including themselves.
I believe these words are really going to change the narrative of upcoming leaders who see themselves as failures.
Yeah.
At least they know I have one person, even if it's my mother,
Yes.
who believes in me.
That's true.
I can use that as an opportunity to change for tomorrow.
That's true.
Okay. Now, at Mount Kenya University, what can we remember you for?
I think there's a lot to remember me with because so far so good. I boast of the fact that I'm one of the presidents who walks so majestically in Mount Kenya University, even years after I left office, because of the impact and the legacy that I was able to leave, the things that I was able to achieve. Because number one, I hated the fact that politicians used to promise a lot and deliver very little. As a matter of fact, one of my slogans when I was campaigning, I used to tell people that I would rather under-promise and over-deliver than over-promise and under-deliver. And that is actually what I did. When I was becoming president in Mount Kenya University, some of the challenges we had was we had ghost presidents. People who were very available by the time they were being elected, but disappeared thereafter.
Immediately after the election?
Yes. And one of the things I had promised students was availability. And if there's something I delivered to the students, was availability.
Good.
Number two, we had an issue where student leaders would organize for events, fun events, church events, and other kind of events. You know, when we come to the university, I always say a university, I believe university comes from the word universal.
Yes, universal. Yeah.
A university is a place where you come and interact with everything.
Everything, everybody from all races.
As a matter of fact, when I'm inducting first years, I tell them that if you think you are coming to a school in the university, you are wrong. Why do I say that? Because you went to a primary school.
Yes.
You went to a secondary school. Then this is not a university school.
School.
No. This is a university, autonomous by itself.
Yes.
But within the university, there are schools.
There are schools.
So when I go to the school, I pursued business management, bachelor's in business management, specializing in human resource. So when I go to the school of human resource or school of business,
School of Business.
I am now a student and I am there purely for academic purposes. But when I am within the vicinities of the university, I am here to learn more than just what a classroom setup is supposed to offer.
Yes, yes.
Leadership and so many other things. So we had entertainment activities, secular and gospel and all other nature. We had sporting activities and all that. We had a challenge where you would put up a poster, promise students that you bring them 10 artists. And you know, students look up with a lot of expectation to see some of these artists.
Yes.
Because if a student does not see one of the most popular artists in Kenya today while in university, they never get that chance any other time.
Yes.
But then you promise to bring 10 artists and bring 2. Or bring none at all.
Yes.
And it is one of the things that I wanted to change. I wanted to assure students that they would get value for money. That if we organize an event, we promise that we are going to bring you Churchill it will be. And there was no two way about that. So it is something else that I changed. Number 3, and most important, there was a major complaint about Wi-Fi in Mount Kenya University since inception. Because a university is a place where people cannot be able to survive without Wi-Fi. Because it's a research institution. And that is one of the problems that I solved forever. Because since then, I don't think there's ever been a challenge with issues of Wi-Fi again in Mount Kenya University. And lastly, and most important, was the great task of bridging the gap between the students and the administration. Because, Steve, and I would want to really capture this for the purposes of future leaders who are interested in student leadership. Sometimes we have this notion that becoming a student leader is becoming a guerrilla warfare leader against the administration. Or becoming a student leader is becoming a goon or a hooligan. And I always insist there is a difference between goonism, hooliganism, and leadership. You do not have to fight every other time to be a leader. But of course, sometimes you have to fight as a leader.
Sometimes you have to fight.
But you don't have to fight every time.
Yes.
You do not have to chest thump every time for you to achieve things that you need to achieve. As a student leader, I was able to bridge the gap between the administration and the students. I would know what the students want and what the administration wants. Because you must remember Mount Kenya University is a private university. And as a private university, they have their goals, objectives, and agendas that they would want to achieve. But Mount Kenya University, being a private university, did not mean that the students there are private students. They are students like any other students in any other university.
Yes.
So they require and they deserve every other service or every other setup that a student in another public university deserves or gets. So I really had to balance between that because I remember like there are times you would have an issue. The school needs money because people have not paid school fees. And the students, they need education.
Yes.
Some of them cannot be able to afford being in class. So what do I do? So the administration would say that from tomorrow we are going to lock everybody outside the gate. And the students would say we do not have money to pay. So how do you solve such a problem? My strategy was very simple. I would go to the administration and tell them, if you give me 1 week, if within 1 week students are able to pay, will you go ahead with locking the gate? They would say no. What we need is money. And even if we do not achieve 100%, if we get 30% within a week, it is enough.
Yes.
So it would be simple. Then I would tell them, give me 1 week, and within a week, if we achieve 30%, we do not have to lock anyone out of class.
Yes.
On that particular day, we would write a memo and tell students that from next week on Monday, nobody will be allowed into class without a lecture card. So what does that do to the students? It means there are students whose parents have money, but they do not want to pay immediately. But if pushed, they will pay. So after that 1 week, everybody is good. We are able to buy an extra 1 month.
Again, you write another memo.
After 1 month, we write another memo. And then the third month, it's exam time. And even those who did not have will have managed.
Yes.
So what that achieves is that the school has achieved what they needed at that particular time because, fair enough, there is no organization that would, it's not a charitable organization that it would run without finances.
Yes.
But at the same time, these students have also achieved what they needed because some parents, what they needed was time. They would eventually pay at the end of the semester. What they needed was time. But there are some who would pay even upfront for an extra semester.
Yes.
So that is something that I really wanted to achieve, and that is why I wanted to outline and to categorically state for the benefit of those who desire student leadership in future, that you do not have to be a goon, you do not have to be a hooligan to be a student leader. Student leadership is not synonymous with goonship and hooliganism. We don't have to go out to the streets and spoil other people's properties. But sometimes students will not understand that until the day you leave campus, open your own kiosk outside there, then students come picketing, burn it down, and you do not have anyone to cry to. That is when you know that you do not need to picket in order to have your problem solved. So I managed to go throughout my term without really having conducted any student strike to solve our issues.
Solve our issues.
Yes, and at the same time, I was able to have the goodwill of the students and also the administration. Yes, because you are there as a bridge. That is leadership. Leadership is arbitration. It is bridging the gap between two different sides and bringing them together.
Yes.
Kindly, I request you to click the bell down here, subscribe to get more of this and also to hear from other student leaders and other people who have gone ahead of us. Thank you very much.